This is what we're looking for. We're going to take our images, and if you go to today's Moodle page, you can download a information folder, got it on the desktop here, of all the pictures that we're going to use. There's 4 of them, so you'll need to edit all 4 of these photographs. And notice they're really nice, great stock photos. You can get them from their website. So you really won't have to touch up anything major. What we're going to do is remove the background, or at least alter the background of these. Because one way you can add contrast to something is by making the value or making the color of it different from what's around it. So if I wanted these motorcycles to stand out from the background, in our case, I'm adding color, or in this case, removing color from the background so that those pop out a lot more. If we were talking about the kind of the hierarchy, the Papa Bear, Mama Bear, and Baby Bear, in this layout, what's the Papa Bear? Motorcycle. It's the biggest thing, got the most contrast. It stands out. What's Mama Bear? The price. Price is the second thing that we do. Everything else, I intentionally spread it out or kept it low-keyed so that it falls towards the white. This is what I want to bring your eye into. So let's jump in. I'll show you one particular thing. Let's see. I had another example just to make sure y'all don't see everything or don't have to watch me do everything. This is the stage that I want to get to. Essentially, I want to remove the background from what I'm working with. So I'm going to open up one of the images. We'll do this first one. Drag it into Photoshop. And if you follow along with the Part 1 instructions, I kind of give you step-by-step on how to do it and what to expect with this one. The first thing we need to do, since these are stock photos, we need to remove the little logo at the top right-hand corner. If you've never done this before, the best tool to use to remove little spotted areas is the patch tool. Patch tool is located kind of the top middle of your toolbox. It's usually hiding underneath the healing brush tools. Looks like a sewing patch. With this one, you can circle the area you want to affect, big circle, choose source in the options, and when you drag to an area of like pixels, in this case, you know, somewhere in the sky, when I let go, it will refuse that area into there and blend everything together. Looks really nice, really great way of getting rid of those large areas. In the past, all we had was the clone stamp tool, and that was a pill trying to match everything up. So that's the first thing. Real easy to do. Got rid of the logo. When I work with this, I need to isolate just the motorcycle. So when I erase it, I need to make a copy of our background. So that's the first thing. If you don't know how to make a copy of any layer, there's a couple of ways. You can hold down the Control key, click on the layer, and choose Duplicate Layer. It'll ask you for a name. We'll just say OK. And so now I've got a copy of that layer that I had. Another quick way is you can always drag it to the new layer icon, and you've got another copy to work with from that one. So on this layer, this is the one that we're first going to edit out. What I want to be able to do, if I start erasing away these pixels, so if I grab my eraser tool and erase it away, how come nothing's happening? You got a background, you got 2 different things. Good, you're thinking. So I'm going to undo that. So what I need is to have a color in between these 2 so that I can see what what I'm erasing away. So we're going to add just a solid fill layer. And we did this when we were recoloring the pictures of the flowers. Choose new fill color. We'll say OK. And I like to use red just so that it'll show up a lot better. All right. So now we're working on our background copy. If you've taken my intro class, you know I don't like to use the eraser tool to erase things away. Why is the eraser tool a bad tool to use? It's not forgiving. What does that mean?
The only way you can undo it is pressing the undo button.
Exactly. If I make a mistake, I'm erasing, oops, I've erased away all those pixels. And especially if I'm doing a lot of erasing, I'd have to undo a lot to bring it back. The best way to mask out an area is to use the layer mask, at the very bottom, and you know you can paint white within this area, black within that area, using your paintbrush tool. So I've got black loaded up. Choose a brush size. That's pretty good. If you don't know your keyboard shortcuts, the open and close brackets will allow you to change the brush size on the fly. That's a really good one to use. So now when I paint black on it, it erases it away. If I make a mistake, well, just swap back over to white. Now I can undo the erasing that I've done. So the first thing you need to do is, I'm going to go all the way around the motorcycle and just kind of erase away the outline. This is where you put on your headphones, your music, and you just kind of zone out and work. Now I could just click and drag. Let's swap that back to black. Click and drag all along the edge. And if you've got a steady hand, and I've practiced this a lot, you can do that pretty quickly. I'm going to give you all a tip. This was the best thing that I've ever used. If you click the mouse just once, we'll say this is the starting point. Actually, I've gotten off the tank. Say this is the starting point. Hold down the Shift key and then click again, and it will draw a line from where you clicked to the other point. So all I'm doing is holding down Shift and click, and it will draw a straight line between there and there. And so in just a few clicks, I can quickly shade out an area. Of course, if it's a smaller area, I do need to change my brush size. But all I'm doing is holding down the Shift key, clicking, let the computer do all the work for me. We'll make it small and get down to this little cranny, make it big, and move back along. Click, click, click. Get real small and get down in this area. I'm going to speed things up just a little bit. All the way around. So you kind of get the idea. You're going to do the outside edges, do the shadow area, so I'd want to erase away all of this in here. Inside of the wheels, so in this wheel, you've got to do all these little areas inside of the hubcap type area. It'll go pretty quickly, and you'll see why this will be a really cool effect once it's done. All these little circles right here, we'll give them a touch too. Inside the engine mount area, you'll need to get those and pay attention to where the wires are. So once you've erased it away and you've got the outline, you can just make a big brush and take out the rest of the background relatively quickly. And this is what's going to take a little bit of time. Don't worry, let it take time. The slower you go, the more controlled you are, the easier it'll be, or the better results you'll get. Eventually, this is what you'll have. And so you can see how the red area is showing through because it's masked out in my layer mask. Have I lost everybody? Y'all know what I'm looking for? All right. Check out the spokes on this one. I could clean that up probably just a little bit more if I spent a little bit more time. I kind of went quick to show that off. But I've got the whole area masked out. Now comes the magic part. Now we get to change the color of the background and let it really show through. Select your color layer, and we're just going to change the blending mode to it. So from normal to multiply. With multiply selected, now it's giving that solid color background that I want it to be. See how well it stands out? Really cool, really awesome. If you wanted to change the color, just double click on the fill color, and this will give you the ability to change to any color that you want. In general, medium tones to darker tones tend to work out better. If you get too light, you can see it doesn't really work out for multiply. If you get too dark, well, it doesn't work out too well either. Would you want black as a background? Why not? Bingo. A lot of black in those tires, a lot of black in the shadows, not enough contrast. So I'm just going to choose like a medium tone. There's a good blue to work with. Maybe we'll... Perfect. That's the color that I like. Now it's standing out. Now it's got great contrast because that's got the most intense colors for there. The second thing you need to do, now I'll pull up the brochure that we're working with, and you'll see why this is important. Notice how it fades from whatever color here in the picture to a solid color down here at the bottom. Well, to do this, I need to have a gradation of color going from whatever the picture is to a solid color. And we're going to do that in Photoshop. So going back to here, I'm going to make a new blank layer. I'm going to use my gradient tool to do this. With the gradient tool, you can tell it to go from whatever the foreground color is to transparent. And to make sure we've got the linear gradient selected. If you need to pick a color, what did you have to hold down in InDesign to pick a color? Option key, same way in Photoshop. Hold down your option. Now I can get that exact blue to match exactly where I want it to be. So let's say that one. I'm in my blank layer, click from the bottom upwards. And so now I've got a solid color that it's blending into all the way down. Looks perfect, looks crisp. So if I gave this to my editor or my art director and he says, I don't like the blue, I want you to change it. Well, if I had to paint it over, that would take a long time. But because I'm working in a solid color layer, he says, I want to see it green. Now all I got to do is change the green, change my gradient color, and that'll work out well. All cool? Anybody need to see that again? All right. So this is the first thing I want you to do. Pick at least one motorcycle. See if you can get one of them done today. Mask out the area, add a color background, change up the blending modes, and then add the gradient. When you're done, you can save it as a Photoshop document, but I do want you to save it as a TIFF once you're completely through. The TIFF file format allows you to save layers within something. JPEGs do not. Also, TIFF is a very high quality image that printers like to use, so we're going to save that as a TIFF to work with. All right, I'm going to turn your computer back over to you. Pause the recording.